this episode I look at how I come to leave here and go down back to the boat and carry on working down the boat, and how I come back again. Enjoy. Well, an interesting thing has happened because I've started to pack everything away into the car, but the funny thing is that I don't feel like it. Normally I feel like doing something and then I wait for my body to move and I do it. But this time my body's just moving and it's packing everything away without me really feeling like it. And I think the reason for this is because I need to make this video. Otherwise I wouldn't have bothered to make this video, because it wouldn't have been unusual enough, because normally everything just happens automatically by itself. But here I feel nature's showing me specifically that things can happen that you even don't feel like happening, and your hands will move if you wait long enough. And this time I have waited because I haven't really been feeling like travelling, but I've run out of other things to do. I've made my final video, and so it's time, I suppose. And even though I don't feel like it, obviously there's a timing issue. I have to be going at a certain time, and also the car needs packing in a certain order as well. And so the order with which I've packed everything up and put it away and put it into the car is also important. And the other interesting thing is the tyre in the car. One of the tyres has got a slow puncture in it, and I thought I was going to fix that before I did anything else, but I haven't been fixing this tyre, and it remains to be seen whether I drive with this tyre on a slow puncture or whether I get it fixed before I go. But I did notice that the jack and the axle stand, this has not been packed away into the boot. This is at the back of the boot and an easy place to get it, so I can actually take this out of the boot quite quickly and use it. So it remains to be seen whether I do this, whether I need to change a tyre or don't need to change a tyre. It's interesting, eh? Most people would just do it if they thought they had to do it, but I cannot, because I must wait until nature says, yes, you are going to do it, by me actually doing it. So there's no real need to think about this except about the process by which nature uses to make sure that everything gets done. And if you were thinking about these things and living a life like that of premeditation, you wouldn't notice that these things weren't happening anyway. It's interesting because the scientists found out now that before a thought actually comes into the mind, there's a movement in the brain, an electrical movement in the brain, and then only the thought comes into the mind. And so it shows, or there's a movement of the body, it shows that there's a kind of like a directing influence coming before the thought. And so modern scientists think that it may be cosmic rays that are bringing our thoughts through. We are much more like a receiver than a transmitter. And all the poets would agree with this, because they all say that they don't know where their poem came from. And it certainly wasn't them that was doing it, they were just the vehicle for it. And also, only in certain times, it's not an ability that the person has innate inside of them. Bob Dylan says, I could never write songs like that. I couldn't do it. Yeah, those songs, those special songs that were written in the 60s, I cannot do that. But he did then, in that moment. But he cannot do it because, not anymore. Only then, because that was a special time that nature used and needed to bring those special songs like The Times They Are Changing and things like that into the universe. And the nature works through any poet who is open to those possibilities. Okay, so I'm waiting to see if I sit here forever or I eventually get in my car and do something with it, driving all this stuff, I suppose, to North Wales. I hope. Let's see what happens. It's a scientific experiment, as valid as any other. You can see I'm just finishing uploading my pen reel catalogue video, and it says it's 100% complete. It's just finishing off. I quite like the pen reel's thumbnail that I've made. It's probably the best one I've done. I only just started to do thumbnails, but you can see my thumbnails have been getting, that's quite nice from the Bangor one. They're kind of getting better as I'm practicing at them. This one is rather nice, and so I'm going to look at it, trying to include curved objects like that in writing and that kind of thing, because that's a really nice way of doing it. It's interesting, I'm watching this movie for the first time, Gone with the Wind, and maybe it's a sign that I'm going to be gone with the wind soon. This is on my table, so it's a bit of a sign to say I'm going. I wouldn't have thought about that, except I've seen myself packing away and getting ready for the off.
Savannah would be better for you. You just get in trouble in Atlanta.
We're going to have to pull all these windows out and seal them up. They're all leaking, so except for the porthole. So that's the job we have to do. And we have to be careful when we do that job because there's a timing issue, and so I haven't started it now. Maybe it's going to rain again. So you can see there's a few clouds on the horizon. Oh, just a bit of an update here. I've just started now, and you'll see that the wiring's all tidied up on here, and I've actually got the funny bunch of cable stuck down there for the moment. We'll have to hide that away in the end. But I'm sticking with what we've got here. You can see this comes back here, and now it needs to do this so that you can see from outside. And on the back, all the wires have been hidden on the back here, and it should be okay for the purpose that we have it for. This just holds it back here. So that'll do us for the moment. And I've started on the solar panel, and you'll see I've just got it rested on the push pit, it's called, on the push pit, and I've got it covered with cardboard because otherwise it'll start producing electricity. And so there's nothing holding it on except I've tied it up there with the stanchions here. I'll show you underneath what's going on. Here's my vise. You can see I made a mistake here with the file, but it's not a mistake because otherwise I wouldn't have filmed this. So we have to somehow get around this and see. You can see how useful these clip-up vices can be. And, these are the two pieces of aluminium. I've just cut these and filed the ends of them. And what we're doing is, you can see up here, is the solar panel. It's just resting on the bar so we can see what's going on here. And you'll see that the bars are going to go across here, and it's just a matter of where exactly to put them. And you'll see it's resting on the bar here, but it's higher in the middle. It's higher in the middle. So what I don't want to do is put the bars too far on this side, on the sides, because then that bar will get in the way. And so if we put them a little bit in, like about there and there, then we'll have them in the right place, and it will actually lift, the bars will lift the whole thing up, so there'll be a gap here on either side, which will be good. So now that we've weighed it all up and it's actually going to work, what we're going to do is we're going to take it off and attach the bars to it and drill all the holes necessary to attach it. Well, not all of them, well, maybe we do. It's going to be quite difficult to drill those holes if we've got the bars on. We may have to take them off again to drill the holes, that's all. Okay, but we need to attach the bars downstairs because we're going to have to drill on the ground. So, well, we're here in Dickie's boatyard working on the boat. We're parked up here. Here's our car parked in here, and we're surrounded by other boats, but nicely on the edge of everything, so it's a pleasant place to work. And you can see we're not far from the water. Well, it turned out to be quite a good guesstimate at size, and it just clears those rear stays and can tilt down past them or tilt the other way, so it should work really, really well. And that area of the boat I just never use, and you can see there's a rod will go either side and be jammed in there quite nicely for fishing purposes. That should work out all right. I'm going to try and do a captain's log here. I'm back in the boat, and it's interesting how one's brain becomes used to, kind of gets into a boat part of the brain. It takes a little while to do this, but after a while it gets kind of there. And one of the difficulties I've had, a good thing about arriving with the rain was that I was able to live inside here and watch exactly what was happening with the rain, because I thought that the water was coming in through the stanchion, which had broken. But it's not. The water's actually coming through the windows, which the seals on them just seem to be starting to fail on all of them. And so it's going to be necessary to take the windows out and reseal them somehow. And fortunately I needed some special tape that you put on to put the stanchions on. I got this tape, and the only way you could buy it is in a great big long roll, because it's used for glazing, roofing and stuff like that. And so I've got a big roll of this stuff, so I should have certainly enough for some of the windows, and if it turns out to work all right, then I can get some more if I need it. It may be enough to do all of them, I don't know. But it's absolutely necessary to stop the water coming in, otherwise the whole boat's just going to go rotten, which it started. Parts of the interior woodwork have started to be destroyed by the water, and so if we catch it now it should be okay. Otherwise, if it gets too bad, well, all you can do is rip the whole lot out and start again, really, which is not something I'm going to do, not on this boat. So I had a start, I made a start on the electrics, just getting my head around what has to happen here. And I've made a little bracket. I'll show you a little bracket. I found a piece of aluminium, a square piece of aluminium lying around, not being used for anything. So you can see it. I cut it out of a square piece, so you get two of these. If you cut it across, you get two of these. So I've got another one, which is, this one's a bit sharp. I haven't actually got a use for this yet, but the other one's all ready to go to mount the iPad stand onto, along with the rest of the navigation equipment. So that's looking good, and I'll be starting to get my head around. Oh, well, the interesting thing happened is when I arrived in here, the whole electrical panel on the other side of the boat started to fall off. Never seen this, but it was good because I was able to pull it off the rest of the way. I had to break some of the wood to do that, and so I could see exactly what's going on behind it and how it interfaces with the other side. On the other side of the bulkhead is the starting key to start the engine and all that sort of stuff, and on this side is a control panel, so I can see what it's all about now. And I managed to sort out which is the main power lines, positive and negative, coming in, so I know where to cut and join my new system. So, you know, you can't jump in it all at once, but you have to think about it all at once for a while. And so I haven't actually done very much since I got here except sleep, but I've been thinking about it all, and I've just started to move now and starting to do each thing one little bit at a time. So it looks like the solar panels going on first. That makes sense because we need to get everything charging in here, and if I'm going to start using power tools and everything off the battery, I need to have a solution to charge the battery, because that's going to flatten them. And so it's good to have the solar panel as the first thing. I'm going to have to use a drill to put the solar panel on, so it's good that we start with that. And it seems to be fitting well and working out good. It's very difficult if you're not at the boat, you can't take measurements and you don't know exactly, you can imagine how the solar panel might work, because it's in both dimensions. You know, you've got the stays running up and down, and then you've got everything's there, the rudder's in the way and everything. You've got to make sure that you don't interfere with anything else. But I found that I had no use at all for that back area to get in and out or anything. It just didn't seem to be of any use whatsoever, that back area. And so to have a solar panel on top of it with a bakeboard, that's going to be really, really useful, that. And perhaps I'll make some wooden surround around it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but we'll see as time goes on how this area develops. But I want to have a good place for the rods so that I can put them out there and they're not going to disappear overboard. So it's necessary to make it possible. It looks like all I need to do is put a couple of ties from the rod to one of the stanchions there, and that might be all that's necessary to hold the rod in place. What you don't want is the fish taking it and taking the whole rod with it. It could happen if it's not held properly. Okay, that's about it. Well, it's an absolute disaster in here, as you can see. Everything's just a mess. What happened was I found a wasp inside here. There was a wasp inside here. I thought it was dead, and then there was all sorts of bubbling stuff up here. This stuff was terrible. It was all bubbling out here. Somebody had put some foam behind it or something. So I ripped it all off, and when I ripped it off I found another wasp inside there, and it was alive. I had to kill both of these wasps. They're hardly alive, really, sort of sleeping. And so I killed the two wasps. It was really good to get rid of them. And what I'm left with, and I cut off all the bad stuff, and what I'm left with here seems to be just the perfect place for this. And I took another object off, and you'll see there's a hole here. I've blocked up some holes here, and you see that hole there. If we put that on there, then you can see we've got this panel is then the wires can go straight down the bottom there. And I've had a look inside here. It's interesting how it all works out. And I can drill through here, can't go through here, can drill through here. That gives us entry into the engine compartment, which goes through to the back, and then we can also drill through here, and that gives us entry to the battery compartment over here. And so that should work out well without disturbing all this terrible set of wiring here. It seems to be working, so we'll just leave that alone and we'll put all new wiring in. Well, we just had a nice meal of haddock, and I've just discovered that the vise can go on here, and so I was going to change this piece of wood here, reinforce it so that the vise wouldn't be able to go here. So just like I had to use a vise today, and now I know not to do it the way I was going to do it. I need to put some support in here, but it needs to be able to, the vise also needs to be able to go on the edge, because it's very useful to have a vise there. Now, I've been working on the solar arrangement, and I had a lot of trouble trying to find terminal nuts with the batteries. Yeah, I'll show you. We'll see if you can see me there. Yeah, we were saying the mistakes are the best part. And today I walked for miles to try and get terminal nuts, and I went to a number of places and I couldn't get any. So I came back here with no terminal nuts. It's like they just don't sell this kind of thread. It's not metric. So I thought, well, I've got to carry on. I'm not going to get these nuts, so I'm going to have to be able to do it without it. And so there were some crocodile clips on the inverter, and if I don't have the crocodile clips for the inverter, I can't drill a hole. But I had drilled some holes, and I noticed that I specifically drilled a certain number of holes. I didn't drill an earth wire hole, funny enough. So anyway, as you'll see, it worked out to my advantage. So when I came to wire, I thought all I can do is use the crocodile clips. That's all I can do. So first of all, I thought, well, maybe I can wire it to the inverter. No. Could have done, but it was too dangerous. I thought, no. I'll cut off the crocodile clip. So I cut the crocodile clip, the terminal off the other end of the crocodile clip, and wired it into the positive terminal of the battery. Now I can no longer use the inverter to drill another hole, and I wire my battery up through the firewall up to the solar panel controller. And fortunately the earth wire, I've got the right, I can manage to put the earth wire on. I've got a wing nut for that. So eventually I wired this thing up, but I had no hole to put the wing, the earth wire through the firewall. So I couldn't drill a hole, so I had to make a sort of temporary arrangement so I could just put it through the engine compartment. And so I connect the solar, and it works. And so the solar charge controller recognises the battery, and that's good because it's nice to know that it's working. And then I thought, I'm wondering, how am I going to drill this hole? Because now I can't drill the hole, so I'm having to do what I can without the hole, wire the thing up knowing that when I get the hole, not to crimp on any terminals that can't go through the hole, make sure that whatever arrangement I make can go through the hole when I eventually drill it. And so I've been thinking about the earthing and so on, and I realised that all three batteries, that's the starting battery and the two house batteries, all three batteries are going to share the same earth. So all you need to do is, to bring the starter battery into the system, all you got to do is get the crocodile clip from the one battery onto the other one, onto the starter battery. And then the solar charge controller should recognize that battery, and if your solar panel is connected, it should charge that battery, tell you how much charge in it and everything. So what a great idea. If I could have got the wing nuts and the battery terminal nuts, I wouldn't be doing this, you know. I wouldn't have got here. But the way it's all worked out, I've suddenly realised what a great boon the crocodile clip's going to be, because under normal circumstances you don't need it. But if in the tragic state of affairs that your starter battery's got no life in it and something funny happens to it, you can actually then just take the crocodile clip, open two doors, take the crocodile clip off one battery, put it onto your starter battery. You have to disconnect your solar panel first, yeah. That's the only, and yeah, and I've actually got an on-off switch on the battery, which is good because while you're doing all the jiggery pokery, it's good to switch it off, make your connection, and then turn the power on. So I'm using the 1+2 battery switch for that purpose, so that's good, that's working well. So it'd be really nice to have a switch on the solar panel, and I have got a spare switch and I could probably use it. It's probably good enough. I think it's a 20 amp switch, it should be good enough, so that you can switch the solar power off, change the battery with need, and then switch the solar power back on again. That's a great way of doing it. The only other way of doing it is to cover the solar panel, but if you do that, well, you know, you can imagine it's a windy day and you're messing around with a piece of cardboard. You know, you've got to keep something that you can cover the solar panel in the boat. It's a real hassle here. And so I'm going to put a switch in, I think. There is a, well, I'm just going to have to put it somewhere, I don't know where. So, the mistakes are the best part. So now I've got a system that should be easy to, one crocodile clip, swap over to the other battery, immediately see what's going on in that battery. In fact, it will change all of the electrics over to that battery. So, it's interesting. A very useful thing as a solar charge controller is, you know, it's your USB charging is on it, and it stops your batteries getting flat. It's a really good idea to have one on board, and it can tell you a lot about your battery too, whether it's charging, you know. And so, you know, also if you, well, I don't need to tell you, you know all this. My legs are killing me from too much walking today. Anyway, well, that's it for tonight. I've just got the solar panel connected, and you can see the wires are just running to the panel because it's pouring down with rain outside there, and it's not possible to start drilling holes, because I have to actually use the solar setup to drill the holes, because you can see I've got the inverter here attached as a load on the solar panel, and I need to plug the drill into here to be able to drill the holes to the solar panel, and so I'm not going to be able to do that until it stops raining. So what I've done is I've just put the wires straight across the cabin here and into the controller, so at least I'm charging, because I'm having to charge my phone here. My camera's going to need charging soon, and it all seems to be working. And we'll have a look here, see what it's cycling through all the various different parts of the system. And so, what is it? 12.7 volts is the battery status. The temperature is 20 degrees centigrade. 12.7 volts battery. Solar panel is also 12.7 volts. It was reading 19 volts before. I don't know why it's dropped down. Just let it come through again. Panel voltage 12.7 volts. Well, it's not too much longer now, and you'll see the battery is 13.4 volts. 13.8 volts, and it cuts out, so that's completely fully charged. And what else have we got on here? The panel voltage is coming. What's that? Panel voltage. It also says 13.5 volts. And I charged my phone, it's all charged, so that was pretty quick too. So really it's working well. I'm going to swap it over to the other battery now and see what happens. Well, you can see the battery voltage on this one's 12.6 volts. It also says the panel voltage is 12.6 volts. I don't know why that changes like that. maybe it matches the panel voltage to the battery voltage and just puts more amps out or something. It's interesting. So it's going up as we watch, 12.7 volts. So you see it's nearly charged anyway. It's not that the other one was about this when I started off. So I'm going to let this one run up for a bit and see how long this takes to get up to charge, get up to full. Well, we've just fitted our battery isolator finally, and you can see it's now, the woodwork's finished off, still got to be varnished. The switch that's switched on the top right, what that does is that bypasses this switch. So you've got the power going from the start battery to that switch, and it also goes from that switch to the battery isolator. So if you have the switch off like this, then the battery isolator is activated. Well, it's activated all the time anyway, but it's activated and it'll only come in if the engine's running. If the engine's running and charging, then this LED should come on, boom, and then the battery, the start battery, is connected to the house battery system, and the house battery system is charging together with the start battery. And if you put this on, then it simply takes the power to the other side of this thing and bypasses the switch in here, so that the start battery is fully connected to the house battery in parallel now, and so it's charging. All three batteries are charging from the solar panel. And so you've got a choice of no batteries, 1, 2 house batteries, 1 or 2 house batteries, or just the start battery, or all 3 batteries, whatever combination is required. Now, if we come in here, this is the engine compartment. I'll show you the switches. Well, you can see here that, this is coming from the house battery compartment here into the dual switch here, and the dual switch, see, it's on 1 and 2 at the moment, and we can turn this to 1 or 2 or off. Now, we shouldn't turn it to off because the solar panels are connected. If we turn it to off, there's no battery, and then the controller will go wonky, and it's recommended not to do that, not to turn it off. And so the other interesting arrangement we've got is we've got the bilge pump is, these are fused now, it wasn't fused before, and the bilge pump, this is running down into the bilge here, and it's fused and it's connected to the output of all 3 batteries. So if all 3 batteries are connected, which you normally, if you park this thing up, you'd have it set to all 3 batteries, so all 3 batteries are being topped up, charged, and then all 3 batteries would have to fail before the power would go on the bilge pump. But of course, if it blows a fuse, well, then it's out of action anyway. I thought it was better it blow a fuse than it sort of start a fire or something like that. And so all of the wiring is tidied up in here now, and our battery compartment is over here, and you can see our 2 batteries, not very easy to see, but we've got our inverter on the wall here, which is just crocodile clipped to 1 or more of the batteries directly. I tried connecting it to the controller here, but it doesn't like the load, and so the controller trips all the time. So you can see it's quite good because I can see that the controller's working, that the trip circuit in there is working, and so to get the best performance out of the inverter, it's best to have it crocodile cut directly to the battery, which is recommended in the diagrams that you see for the charge controller. So that's about it really. All the electrics on this side are done. I'm still working on the electrics on this side. There's another box going in here. Here's our box here. Our box that we're working on. That's going to go up there and wire it in so that we can run, basically so that we can run a USB charging socket to our iPad, which is going to be over here in this area here. There's an extra little control panel there covering the wires, and it's a good place to put a switch or two for room for expansion. So and we've got everything sorted on this side. Well, I'm back in Bromyard now, and it's been really nice just to relax and rest and be warm, because it was quite cold in the boat. And by the time I was ready to leave, I just didn't feel like doing anything else. I just felt like going really, and I felt I couldn't go because I still had things to do. But then when the gas ran out, I tried to get gas all over Bangor, and there was no gas, couldn't get gas, and so to live without gas, without the cooking ability, was too much. And so I packed everything that I was busy working on and all the tools and everything in the car, and I brought them back here, and so I'm going to carry on doing a bit of woodwork here. And when I feel ready again, I'll get some gas and I'll go back down and carry on with the boat. I did get a lot of stuff done. I got the solar panel installed and all the electrics rewired and the 3 battery system in and everything working, and also the windows, most of the windows still one small leak in one of them. Not so serious, but I feel good to be able to leave the boat for a little while and know that it's going to stay dry in the main part that was getting wet, because it wasn't good that the boat is leaking and staying wet. It's going to destroy a boat very quickly. I was surprised at how quickly the boat dried out after the leaks were stopped. The boat seemed to take on everything dried out and everything was fine. So I did take some videos of the process while I was on the boat, just a little bit, and so I'll put those videos up now and you can see the progress that's being made on the boat. Okay.